argument, some scoffed. Yes, there's always going to be naysayers, and there will always be someone who does not believe what the pastor says in the sermon. That's okay. But the Athenians didn't ride him out on a rail like the Thessalonians and the Bereans had. He did something different here. In fact, his argument was so convincing, there were even converts. Now, Jada, I agree. I don't know how to say these names either, so I'll give it a try. Dionysius the Areopagite and a woman named Damaris. We have some specific names of people who converted to Christianity because of what Paul said, and others with him. Thinking about going into a community and understanding who the people are, I want to ask another poll. By a show of hands, how many of us have ever lived on the near west side or Ohio City now or ever in your lifetime? Who has lived in the area we call the near west side or Ohio City? Okay. How many of you all traveled more than 1 mile to get here? You know, guess it. More than 1 mile. Okay, most of us. How many of us have ever attended a community meeting in this neighborhood? Now, I'm not talking about a church meeting, but a community meeting. Maybe a block club meeting, a safety summit, one of the meetings of Ohio City Incorporated. Who has ever been to a community meeting in this neighborhood? Okay. Now, this is a kind of a question that you'll just have to be the judge of yourself. How many of you think that you grasp, whether you live in this neighborhood or you live elsewhere, is fine, but how many of you think you might grasp a little bit of the primary or the fundamental concerns of this neighborhood, of the residents in this community? How many of you think you understand a little bit about what's going on in this neighborhood? Cool. Our mission statement says, we care for the spiritual needs of a culturally diverse community, and we encourage creativity. All that bell ringing going on. What does it mean for a church community which is made up of people from all across Northeast Ohio, literally from Warren and Euclid to Avon and Parma Heights? What does it mean for us to be nestled in this culturally complex and richly historic neighborhood and care for it? To care for its spiritual needs. What does it mean? What does it mean for a church community which seeks to widen the circle for all God's children to encourage creativity? In a neighborhood which is home of the offices of Cleveland International Film Festival and Cleveland Public Art, as well as being the home to Cleveland Public Theater, the Near West Theater, and if you read the newspapers last week, for the first time in history, a West Side location of the Cleveland Museum of Art within blocks of this church. What does it mean for us to encourage creativity in a neighborhood that has some extraordinary arts communities as well as people in abject poverty? What does it mean? If we take Paul's model from Athens, which I think was built on Jesus' model for how he lived and breathed and had his being, exemplified in the way that Jesus dealt with people like Zacchaeus in the tree, then we're going to be intentional about several things. 3 points. Quick. If we're going to care for the spiritual needs of a culturally diverse community and encourage creativity, we will take time to know our neighborhood. Whether our community is online and virtual or bricks and mortars, we will have a curiosity. We will have an interest. We want to know. It doesn't mean we have to agree with it all, but we need to know about these communities, which, after Verity's presentation yesterday, can blow your mind. I didn't know how many social networking sites there were. We'll take time to know our communities. Second, we will spend less time judging those who live in communities different from our own, and more time just loving them and sharing the gospel with them. Even Jesus said, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." We'll take time to know our communities. We'll spend less time judging and more time loving, and we'll seek to be in community with good humor, deep humility, and profound respect, understanding that God and Jesus took great pains to cross the boundaries that separate and divide us from the divine in order to be a living, breathing, loving part of our community, the human community. It's not easy. You know, I'm reminded of the two communities in the musical Oklahoma, the farmers and the cowmen. They must be friends. caring for the spiritual needs of a culturally diverse community. But we cannot afford, and it is not the way of the gospel, to just write off another community because we don't understand it, to ignore it because it's too confusing, and never ever to mock a community that is different from our own. And by community, I do mean virtual as well as those that are flesh and blood, brick and mortar. This means, and hear me, while we do not have to completely embrace social media like Facebook, LinkedIn, WordPress, Twitter, Foursquare, Blogger, Yelp, Google+, Dig, Wikipedia, TypePad, YouTube, we cannot do justice to those who find very real community there until we at least know what they are and hear the real and transforming stories of people whose lives are deeply invested in community online. This means that while we do not have to completely embrace our Hispanic or Catholic worker or Palestinian or artisan or gay and lesbian or local food or techno geek or entrepreneurial or anti-war or sustainable communities that are all around us within a few blocks, we cannot do justice to those who find very real community until we at least know who they are. and hear their very real, transforming stories of their lives being deeply invested in creating community in these ways. I believe that after a few less than successful tries at spreading the gospel, Paul learned a new and different way of bringing the good news to a community. It was Jesus' way. It was there all along. And I believe Jesus' way is the way of Franklin Circle Christian Church, where we try to follow by understanding, by loving and not judging, and by humbly and humorously honoring and respecting the communities around us. And in this way, and only this way, will we ever live and breathe and have our being in that great and most beloved community, the community of God. May it be so. Amen.